almost 40% of the total workforce now engages in remote work. And if you look at the stats, that's a huge increase of 25% in the last 6 years. When I got to know that there were many big companies like HubStaff who had more than 300, 400 people across 8 or 10 countries, and they're able to scale to 8 figures and sometimes even 9 figures. This really shook my mindset, saying that, you know what, you don't need to have an in-person team or an office space to really scale and grow your business. Here are a few challenges that I usually hear from business owners as well before they start building a remote team and before they start scaling one. Welcome to Build Remotely, where we help founders scale their businesses with high-performing remote teams. I'm Darshan Chavan, and over the past 11 years, I have helped hundreds of business owners like you get more free time, increase profits, and also unlock exponential growth using remote teams. I have also built my own team of over 100 staff in around 4 countries. In this podcast, I'll share with you the mindset, the strategies, and the leadership tools that will help you build a remote team that scales without any chaos. Ready to grow your business faster with less stress? Let's go. If you're thinking and wondering if you need to have a remote team or build an in-person one, or even if you're thinking, do I need to scale my remote team or do I need to make sure my office teams grows bigger, then this video is for you. Here's a few stats about the total remote workforce that has been gone up since 2019. In 2019, there were just only 15% of the total global workforce, which was remote. And now looking back, there's almost 40% of the total workforce is working remote. And if you look at the stats, that's a huge increase of 25% in the last 6 years. This clearly gives an indication that more people are going towards remote teams, but it's your decision to weigh the pros and cons and see which one benefits you the most, depending on your business, depending on your circumstance. So what I'll do in this video is I'll share with you both the pros and the cons of having a remote team or having an in-person team so that you can make your decision and you can have the best decision possible. Let's just jump in. First and the biggest one, when it comes to cash flow, all right, remote teams can reduce your overhead cost, be it like office rent, contracts, utilities, many other equipments. Because once you run a remote team, you don't need to spend on all these things. So what happens with this is you get more cash to spend on scaling your business. It can be like you can spend more money on ads, or even hiring superior and high quality talent, or you can even invest in different software systems. Added to this, you don't need to pay much super 401k or any kind of payroll tax. So this is exactly what we did with our own group of businesses. And we were able to spend most of the money on ads so that we can keep getting qualified leads and we can keep growing the business. And this is what helped us in getting recognized as one of the 100 fastest growing businesses in Australia, where we were ranked at 66th position. So it may and may not work for all the businesses, especially if you have a business that needs a warehouse, or if you have clients meeting you in person, like a dentist or a doctor or a retail store. It might be hard for you to go 100% remote. Having said that, there are still many jobs that can be outsourced, something like admin, customer support, remote reception, and estimators, billing, many other things. So that's why it's important for you to think about it and consider if there are any roles in your business right now that can be outsourced, that can be delegated as well. Here's the next thing that you might want to consider before making a decision to go remote or have people work for you in person. And this can be a really important one, especially as a business owner, is the flexibility and the work-life balance. Remote teams offer you a greater flexibility, leading to improved work-life balance and a higher employee satisfaction. For me personally, this has been the biggest one because I personally get to work wherever I want to. And most of the times I get to work sitting in my car, and sometimes in front of a lake, and sometimes near a beach. And the best part is I'm just wearing my slippers and wearing my shorts. And this is the best feeling that you can have as a business owner, which gives you the total freedom to work and travel anywhere you want. And more importantly, these days, as you can see, the top level talent, especially those that have good experience, they prefer to work from home because they like the flexibility that they get to spend more time with family. They really hate going to work and commuting and spending most of their time in traffic. So that's the reason why, if you want to hire an A quality talent, especially from overseas in remote environment, they really prefer doing it from their home. That I have seen one biggest disadvantage to this one is knowing that we as humans, we always prefer some kind of a human connection in person. There have been situations where I myself feel a bit lonely, especially when entrepreneurship itself is a lonely game. This is something that you might want to consider. Or do you want to have even a hybrid team? Do you want people to come to work 2 days in a week, work from home the 3 days? That's a decision that you would have to make and weigh both the pros and cons, and it's going to help you a lot. Here's the next thing that will really make the decision making process easier for you. And the bigger one is the access to the talent pool that you can get. When you try to hire remotely as a business, you get to tap into a huge global talent pool. Whereas in person teams can be often limited just to the local candidates or a particular geographic area. And this will really surprise you. You get access to really more hungrier and driven people who are happy to work more and more hours and get the job done for you. The disadvantage of this one is sometimes a recruitment can be a really big challenge, especially when you post for one job, you might end up getting thousands of applicants. And you would have to spend a lot more time in going through these applicants and having a proper recruitment team. If you don't have a good recruitment team set up, then remote teams can be challenging for you because of the huge amount of resumes and the time it takes to hire people. For example, whenever we apply for any kind of virtual assistants or admin related jobs, there are at least 2.5 to 3,000 people who apply for these job ads. And it does take a considerable amount of workforce to go through, to filter out and shortlist the candidates. So this can be a really big challenge for most of the companies. So these days, what we are trying to do is we are trying to build some workflows using AI automation to overcome this. But still, you just need to be aware that it does take time because the applicants that you'll be getting will be pretty huge. The biggest one that we have really helped a lot of our clients hire for a role is the role of estimators, especially for people who work in the building and construction sector. What I could see was the level of talent over there have way more skills, and also sometimes their ability to go through different invoices and come up with way better estimation has been absolutely top notch. Here's another reason that you can consider to help you with your decision making is the time zone differences. When you work with a remote team, one of the biggest challenges that you might face in scheduling, especially if their times are way behind where you work from, it can have an impact on collaboration. And people working at different times can be a hindrance to the remote teams working together. But what has happened is with different tools like Loom and many other tools, asynchronous communication has gotten easier these days. And the best part is in one of our businesses, we use this as our biggest selling point because when people work remotely, their times might differ for you. So in one of our businesses, we do tell our customers that they get help even outside hours. So we provide assistance from 4:30 p.m. till 7 p.m. And especially for those people who work full time, they really prefer this. and it has become one of our best selling points at the moment. Just quickly, guys, if you have found us struggling to scale your business without burning out or hiring the wrong people, we can help. Book in a call with me using the link in the show notes, and let's help you build a lean and a high performing remote team that frees up your time and also increases your profits. Now, back to the episode. Another big one factor that you can consider while making your decision is your scalability factor. When it comes to remote teams, it's way more easier and faster to scale a business without the need for any physical office space. And also, it gives you many options to scale and grow the business faster because you can hire the talent faster as well, because you get many more options to hire people from. But the biggest downside to this, which I have personally recognized and which I've been more aware of, is because of the cost factor, you keep adding more and more people, which sometimes reduces your efficiency. But because of the talent is affordable, you just lose control at times and it'll get harder to manage too many people. But there is a benefit as well. What happens with this is if someone takes a leave, someone takes a vacation, there is another person who is there to jump in and handle, and the business becomes way more reliable at times. Here's one of the reasons why I personally chose to build a remote team, because I did work with an in person team way back almost 8 years ago. And what I could see was it used to consume a lot more time for me personally in commuting to office, commuting to a particular client's place, and many other things. And the main challenge I faced was my leverage. I really could not leverage my time. And more importantly, what I could see was whenever I used to kind of advertise for a job ad, the level of talent I could tap into was minimal. All right. So the options that I had were very less. So that's the reason why I started, venturing more into remote teams, trying different countries. If I can see, are there more different talents available who have a better level of expertise? And personally, for me, I value freedom a lot. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted my preference to make sure I make money and I'm not kind of bonded to one particular place. I'm not in one particular place where I need to go, I need to stay there, and only then my business can scale. So having a remote team made so much more sense for me, because once the remote team is built, it's going to be so much more easier. But more importantly, what really changed my perspective was when I got to know that there were many, many big companies like HubStaff and many others who had more than 300, 400 people across 8 or 10 countries, and they're able to scale to 8 figures and sometimes even 9 figures. This really shook my mindset, saying that, you know what, you don't need to have an in person team or an office space to really scale and grow your business. And another area or another reason or a point which really helped me choose and have more belief in remote teams was during COVID times. This really showed that it sometimes is just an excuse that I was giving, that I need to have people in office, all right, or I need to meet people in person for the team to be productive. But in reality, that was not the case at all. People were way more productive when they were working from remote. And COVID really taught me a lesson that no matter what happens, the work will still keep going. It just comes down to setting up the right systems, right process, and having a great culture. That's what is going to be the key determining factor, not if people are going to work in person, sitting next to you, or thousands of miles away. It's those things that are really crucial that matter the most. Here are a few challenges that I usually hear from business owners as well before they start building a remote team and before they start scaling one, is how do I really make sure people are working? All right. Whereas when I see them in office, I can see them working, or are they just wasting their time, or they're not being productive. And these days, technology has gone to a completely next level altogether. There are so many tools like HubStaff, Slack, and many other productivity tools, which will really help you know if a a team member is productive, if they are really hitting their KPIs and other things. But more importantly, the root cause, I believe, is a results based method of leadership than just a task based method of leadership. Because when people know what is expected of them, and also we have a really good culture, it becomes so much more easier. And if we can address these root issues like the leadership, building a great culture, managing team, be it either remotely or in person, can get so much more easier. There is one particular negative thing sometimes when you work with a global talent, which you might face. All right, this is going to be a part of it, but it might not affect you too much. Is when people lose internet connection. At times it does happen, especially sometimes in a country like Philippines. They go through a lot of typhoons, all right, cyclones, flooding, and many other things. And it has happened to us in many ways that some people do lose this connection. And the way that we overcome this is to make sure that there is one more person as well who's very well trained to take over and handle these things. And there's always a business continuity process as well set up so that our customers are not being affected. Here's another challenge which I have faced when I work with sometimes with remote teams, which you might want to consider before you go ahead and build a remote team, is a difference in culture. Because in certain countries, they are a bit afraid of fear of conflict or communicating openly and giving feedback. So this can be a cultural thing. Whatever you do, it might be hard to overcome, but there are still some talent who have amazing confidence, who are really top-notch talent that you can go ahead and hire them. And also you can build amazing feedback systems into your business, like anonymous feedback, many other ways, where you still get to know what are the areas where you can improve, the areas where you can get better, so that you can overcome these cultural challenges. Another thing that it is important to consider as well is the communication. All right. What I've seen is when you have an in person team, sometimes what you communicate gets across pretty easily, and the person is able to understand in a better way as well. Whereas when you are communicating either on Zoom or Slack and other things, it's very important to be precise, detailed, and documented as well. And I myself am guilty of doing this. Sometimes when I work with the remote staff member, I have communicated something and they have understood completely different topic. So what we try to do is we try to document as many things as possible and also use a task management software so that we know what is expected and what needs to be done. Another thing that you can consider before making a decision, if you want to have a remote team or an in person team, is the culture that you want to build. And the biggest benefit of having a team in person is when you get to have a lot more fun activities, like going for Friday night drinks or catching up with people for lunch or team building activities. There are so many things that you could do way better when you have an in person team. And more importantly, somehow the connection is so much more better between team members when they are in person, they are visiting an office and they are sitting in one place when compared to a remote team. When you have a remote team, you'd have to do a lot more to build that camaraderie between team members, to build the connection between team members. So it's important to choose what is it your style. Would you like to build a team culture that likes to come to work? All right. Would you like to go out for drinks? Would you like to go out for lunch? Would you want to make sure that you're able to build an in-person team better? For example, here's one thing that we do to increase the engagement and build fun stuff with our remote team. So every second Friday, we have a trivia kind of an evening where we have a set of personal questions, a set of trivia questions about each team member. So just to give you an example, the question might be, did you know that this particular team member was a pop singer? Guess her name. And then I can see the Slack channel go absolutely crazy with 20 messages, 50 messages, 60 messages. And the first person who gets it right would also get to win a prize. So it almost goes on for 30, 45 minutes, and everyone is laughing, smiling, having so much fun because it just builds that inquisitiveness and also fun part into the remote team. Another challenge that it would be hard to address while you have a remote team is conflict management. Whereas when you see there is a bit of a conflict or animosity between team members, it's so much more easier to handle it at times. When you are in person, you can just go out for a drink or meet for a coffee and sit knee to knee, heart to heart, and have that open communication and try to resolve it. Whereas in a remote team environment, it can get tricky because it's hard to see the emotions. You might be able to overcome this by having a video call on Zoom, and more importantly, addressing the root cause of building a better team culture where everyone roots for others' success. It becomes so much more easier then. There you go. We have discussed a lot of points which will really help you make a decision to choose either an in person team or a remote team. Let us know in the comments below which one you were able to relate to the most. And also, if you have made an effort in transitioning from a remote team to an in person team, or even the other way around from an in person team to a remote team, and what has your experience been? If you got any value from today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the mindset, the strategies, and the leadership insights you need to scale with remote teams and grow a smarter business. If you want more support, check out the link in the show notes for our free remote team playbook that will help you hire, train, and lead a world-class remote team. And don't forget to follow us on socials at Darshan Chavan. And remember, scale smarter, not harder.